For 40 years, the people inside this hospital have been extraordinary. They have built a program that referring veterinarians across the region trust with cases that no one else can solve. They've done it with a level of commitment that I am proud of every single day. In a building that was built for a different class size, a different caseload, and a different level of complexity, we have hit that moment where their talent and their ambition have grown, but the building is not. What I want to show you now is what becomes possible when the building finally matches the people inside it. That excellence starts with trust, not just with the families, but with the veterinarians across the Commonwealth who count on us. Now I want you to hear from one of them.
These owners and these pets become part of your family, and I guard that relationship very seriously. I want the best for these humans, and I want the best for that pet. They've been through a lot with this animal. Sometimes I refer to these animals as the dog of firsts. They've been with these people when they got married, when they had their first child, all those very pivotal milestones. First and foremost, I'm looking to transfer them to someone who I trust, who I would take my pets to, and who I would send my family members to. And that starts with the people that are there. Secondary to that, of course, they need to have the tools at their disposal to do their job to the best of their ability and to the fullest extent. It is so frustrating to be in the middle of that patient needing care from a specialist and not being able to find them one. It is just heartbreaking to have to go back to that owner and say, hey, we're so sorry, but we just can't accommodate treatment for your pet tonight. As an alumni from the college, I distinctly remember having a very sensitive case. There was a dog that had a very aggressive bone tumor, and the owner was a truck driver, and he was at the point where he needed to decide to amputate that leg or lose his dog. Those conversations are so hard to have in a public space. It just does not do anybody justice to have that conversation in an open space where they can't be emotional, receiving that news and talking about the next steps. It breaks your heart to have somebody trying to hold back tears because they feel like they can't be true to themselves in that moment because there's other people watching. I feel very firmly that there should be a teaching hospital attached. It's integral to our students' learning to pursue the best medicine they possibly can. It is the foundation from which we practice for years to come, for our entire careers. Having that teaching hospital is an absolute necessity for that reason. I want to be able to say that I came from a school who produces a top quality graduate, and that requires so much. It requires humans, it requires the professors, it requires the clinicians that are top of their field, it requires the technicians and assistants that are skilled and trained and have a passion for teaching. You learn so much from those support staff members, but it also means that they have the space to do their job without their job curtailing their skills. And it means that those students have a place to go and to learn without having to feel cramped or worrying about access to equipment. It means that they have the cases that they need to learn and to practice with a clinician standing by.
To produce those graduates, we have to provide a standard of care that matches the technology of 2026. One of our former valedictorians is seeing that standard in action right now.
I think it's the sunrise over the Blue Ridge Mountains as I drive into the hospital from Christiansburg every morning. I dearly miss that, and the mist rising out of the valleys. If there was one place in the world I would go back to, it's other than maybe my home in Maryland, it would be Blacksburg, Virginia. I remember this one case. It was a dog with an osteosarcoma. But I remember I was very cavalier with the owner when I was chatting on the phone with them, and I made the mistake of saying the word cut. She immediately corrected me on that, the owner did, and said, that just seems like an excessive, laissez-faire way to put it when you're going into something so potentially life-altering for the patient. And I've carried that with me every single day. Surgery is not benign, And every case, no matter how seemingly benign to us as surgeons, because we see these things every day, for the owner, every surgery, no matter how small it is a big deal. That came from direct client communication as a student at Virginia Tech. You can read the procedure in a textbook all you want. Until you see it in a real live patient, you're not going to understand what's going on and the biomechanics of that, and understand the conversation that's going on. That's not something you can learn on a camera in surgery. That's something you have to be physically present for to fully appreciate. It's incredibly important that our students graduate with basic technique that's sound and well instructed. And a major part of that is going to be the instructorship that they receive in school. And a lot of attracting good talent into academia in particular is going to rely on what you have to offer, what your equipment offerings are, and what the facility and infrastructure looks like there. So I think that goes a long way towards attracting top quality talent to teach the students.
That talent is what our students come here to find. They aren't just learning medicine, they are learning the character of a healer.
But some of the surgeries that are a little bit bigger, let's say if they're removing the eye or something like that, we all kind of squish into the room like little sardines, and we're all moving around trying to get a good look as to what they're doing. I think if we had more surgery suites, one, we would be able to care for more patients. I think sometimes the facilities here just limit what we're able to do at once. So sometimes surgeries that are less emergent need to be pushed just because we don't have the space to do them. We watch a lot of videos to prepare, but nothing is the same as seeing the real tissue. But when you're there and you're the one touching it and feeling things and grabbing in different spots, you really gain an appreciation for where that spot to enter the abdomen is. And so, yeah, there's nothing really like being in surgery and being able to do that hands-on. Yeah, the hardest day that I had, we said goodbye to a patient and his family wasn't able to be here for that. Doctors and the staff members that worked on his case were all very close with him. It's always hard when we have to say goodbye to the ones that we love, or any patient for that matter. I always think that, just like that patient, there's hundreds more that will be here the next day that need care, and so you have to kind of compartmentalize that and be ready to help the next patient and be there for their families. Yeah, we're not just trying to make a fancy, pretty building. The pets that are treated here don't really care about that. We're trying to make the space more conducive for caring for the patients and for learning.
You've heard from your team. You've heard what they built. You have heard what they are ready to build. I want to be straightforward with you. The plans are complete. The engineering has been done. 8 surgical suites, designed and ready to build. The Virginia Tech Board of Visitors meets at the beginning of June to assess the final scope of the project. Commitments made by that date will be built into the project. After that date, the cost increases by $4 million. This is a once-in-a-generation chance to build what this college becomes next. If you're in a position to be a part of it, I look forward to our conversation.